hear me okay? I think I need to crank that up. Let me know if this is alright. If not, I'll try and make some adjustments. Happy Tuesday. Hopefully everybody's doing good. Got a few things to go over today. As you can see, the markets are... There's a lot of red. Volume's low? Okay. Let me know if it's still low. I cranked it up a little bit. What's going on, Toby? Good to see you. Thanks for the comment. That's better. Hey, James Johnson, what's going on? Appreciate it, guys. I will be plugging my X. You see it there, posted there, pinned. I am transitioning to do most of my streams, posts, and everything on x.com. So if you have an account, feel free to go follow me over there. It's just better suited for being able to provide like more frequent midday trade updates when I'm not live. So definitely, if you don't already, follow me over there. Help support, like some stuff, retweet, help me gain a following. Not much waiting for the bull run again. You and me both. You and me both. Guys, feel free. There's about 15 of you already. Feel free. Well, first of all, like the stream if you like. That helps other people find it. Puts it in the recommendations for others. But ask questions. Please do. I'll be live for probably about 30 minutes. I'm going to try and answer as many questions as I can. If you want me to look at a certain crypto or stock, let me know. I'll take a peek at it. Provide some information. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. I just wanted to talk about what we talked about yesterday and really continue from there. So, we basically ended the stream yesterday talking about Tesla, talking about Archer Aviation, and then talking about crypto such as Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and some of those other assets. And long story short, there were two ways that we could have gone today. One was going to be if we just kind of scroll backwards like this, if Bitcoin were to hold the 360 level overnight and really stay above that line and maybe even just trade between 360 and 365, if we were to hold that at market open, we probably would have seen a really strong bullish continuation heading towards 375 and 400 bucks. If we did not hold over 360, and as you can see, the volume here, it looked to be, it was a little low. You can see the volume there. You can see the indecisiveness. People are really just not trading very much here, just holding. So if we ended up holding under the 360 level, it was more than likely going to start to sell off. Now, I will admit, because I want to be fully transparent, I'm going to show my account balance and everything throughout this whole journey. I'm not going to hide anything. Want to be fully transparent. I made a mistake here. I was a little skeptical, and this is where just kind of getting in your own head cannot benefit you. So it's constant work in progress, but I was a little skeptical that if I closed out my position, and I was looking at this at 360 before I went to bed last night, and I'm like, if I close out my position, there's a high chance that I wake up today, and if it held above 360, I might wake up to see Tesla at 390 or 400, and I would have missed out on thousands of dollars and been very upset. Now, so what I decided to do is just hold it and hope for the best once I woke up. That was a mistake, and I'm just going to explain why. What I should have done and what I thought about doing, but I did not do, and I went against what my instinct and my gut told me. I should have closed out my position, set alerts to notify me and hopefully wake me up if Tesla were to go up, $5 or down $5, whatever, and just get notified that there's a big move happening. I also should have set, if I closed out my position at 360 to take profit, I should have just set a stop limit buy at about 365 so that if the move did continue up, or even 370, if it continued up, I just auto buy right back in and wake up to being back in and only having lost, $5 to $10 of the move, and I'm still getting the rest, and I'm not missing out on anything. Instead, I did the worst possible thing there. I did not close my position, and I did not set any alerts, and I did not set any stop losses or any buys. I just said I'm going to sleep, hope for the best, and, well, I knew what the risks were, honestly. I kind of got lazy, and, well, I missed out on a lot of potential positive trade there. because I could have been out and then rebought the dip at 340 and avoided about $30 to $40 worth of a loss. And I had 50 shares, so I had 54 shares. So that was, you know, hundreds. Actually, it was about 2K. Pain, but it's fine. So anyway, don't be stupid. Long story short, don't do what I did. I'm going to tell you what the correct moves are, and also I'll tell you how I'm recovering from this slightly bad decision I made. And I knew, like I said, I was perfectly fine living with it, but you learn from your mistakes the hard way sometimes. So as you can see, we're down 1,400 today. Accounts at 9,000. I will just zoom out and show. Actually, I might have to go to a new Robinhood tab here, so I'm not using Robinhood Legends, because I would like to just show a little bit of the account history. While I'm loading this up, Toby had a question. Do you think Bitcoin will get rejected right before 100K? Yes. That's exactly what I think. I believe that if we are to have a bullish continuation from Bitcoin, that we're going to make it to about, let's just say, or what I said yesterday, we're going to be somewhere between 90 to 95,000, maybe even 98. And then that's where we stall out and sell off. Unless we get any kind of discussion from Trump, from Elon, anything about crypto anytime soon. I think that's going to happen first, and I think that's going to last for a little bit of time. This is just me going on a hunch. It could go differently, but then I think after that little bit of a pullback or sell-off, we're going to see a continuation as we get closer to Trump actually establishing himself and getting stuff done. Because you have to understand, right now we had this bull run because of who got elected, but they're not in office doing anything yet. He's just getting set up. So there's nothing that can really happen here except for us hear some things, some talk about what might come. There's nothing that can even happen here for the next 2-3 months. So all of this is just based off hype. And that's why I'm pretty confident that we're going to have some sort of pullback here before we just go taking off. Because you got to also remember, when we're talking about big money, they're probably not going to go too crazy with speculative investments. They're going to want some kind of confirmation before they all in. So just going to show my account here. Very small account. We basically started here we were in the 3,000s, and as of, this is only a month time period. We were at like high threes, low fours. As of yesterday, because of some good positive trades, we made it all the way up to 11.5. So that's where I was at the peak of yesterday, 9 o'clock. That's, I went to sleep seeing about 11.5. I woke up seeing 9 flat. So, like I said, lesson already learned, but I just made a mistake, so it's whatever. I'll get into what I did here to recover, and I'm also going to share this with you because I think it's a pretty good strategy if any of you are holding Tesla long, and I'm just going to explain why. So what I did, once we got to this bottom here around 330, and I was still holding and just kind of watching this occur, I started to think, especially once we got to about here, it looked to be pretty clear from this sell-off and then this little bounce. And I don't know if you guys have, not all of you have been here forever. I used to call this the H of Doom. Now I'm not exactly sure why I named it that a couple years ago, but the gist of it was, whenever you see an extreme sell-off like this, and then you see the market try to recover, but it doesn't even really get to the halfway point or beyond, that's usually a bad sign, especially if it's followed by a retracement all the way back to support. So kind of like this right here, this is bad. You sell off significantly, the market buys the dip, but you can't even hold it, and you end up all the way back to the bottom support line. That just shows that the bearish pressure, the profit taking, the selling, the shorting is overwhelming the buying pressure, because we went all the way back to the bottom support line again after an extreme move. That just kind of shows you there's probably going to be a continuation in that direction. So once we got to about here, and I saw not only that kind of forming, but then like a bit of a double top here, I said, okay, we're probably going downward. Now, you can't always confirm, because sometimes, like I said, fundamentals also are important. It's not all technical analysis, and it's very important to understand that. So there's things like, what if a tweet went out from Trump or Elon? some kind of message talking about crypto. That changes, I mean, sorry, about Tesla. Or, you know, in this case, specifically Elon. What if he announced something positive? Or what if some good news came out from some other source about Tesla? Whatever. Or what if a big money investor decided to buy at that moment? You never know. But the way things were looking, with it being quiet and with the technicals, I said, okay, time to start looking at the chart. And I said, at the time, 337 looked like a support level. And it doesn't on this time frame, but if I go to a different one, you'll probably see what I was looking at. We were somewhere around here. Yeah, so you can see about 337 here. We had tops here, the bottom of some wicks here, consolidation around 337, 338. I was like, if we don't hold this general line here and we start really heading back towards this next support, it's probably over. And so once we did, I said, all right, I'm just gonna get ready to sell. I got out somewhere around 330. It was between 331 and 336. I don't remember. What I did to hedge against that, though, so I sold all my shares. I did not have any calls or anything. I sold my 54 shares. And what I did once we got back down to about 330 flat, I bought a 330 long call option, one contract. Now these are a little expensive, and you can see here my account's not crazy big, so I can't buy but so many contracts, especially with them being, you can see here, you know, about $54 per share for the contract. So that's 54 times 100, that's 5,500 bucks. So I can't even get two of those right now. But the reason I did that is because if this were, so first and foremost, I believe you should only buy a long call if you actually believe in the company long term. So I strongly believe, despite this sell-off, that we are going to, without a doubt, return back to 330, 340, 350, head towards 400. And I even think that's an undervaluation. And that's relatively short term. So as I look at calls for mid next year, and you know, if Trump takes over in January, this is already 3 months post that, surely we'll have heard something positive and start to move back in this upward direction. 330 prediction for April is actually in my head mid-April. That's kind of low. So I felt comfortable taking this call and saying, well, let's just say things go south or we're not really making a profit. I would even feel confident taking that, you know, as it's about to expire and exercising that and having 100 shares at 330, because I think that's a fair price. So that was thought number one. Thought number two is, well, if I'm going to look at a call like that, I could really potentially benefit. You know, even though I don't know this is the bottom, I'm buying 100 shares at a key level of support, which is 330. If this does stop and bounce, I'm now in with 2 times the position size that I was with shares. So if this does go back up to where it came from, yeah, I lost, let's just say 1,500 on the way down, but that means I should really get about 3 on the way back up, because I have twice as many shares. Now, obviously, it's not one-to-one because it's options, but you know how it goes. And then number 3, I did not go all the way back in and buy 54 shares, you know, at a dip here, because I lost some money here, right, off the drop. So by getting back in with options, I'm able to double my position size long with what I think is a very safe option contract. I still have thousands left over if I want to do something else. So with that, I can watch here, and even if this line, the support, does not hold, and we head back down to like the 300 level or even the 320 level, I still have enough capital left over to probably buy more once these go down even more in value, these 330 calls. I could buy more. I could buy like another contract at maybe 40 bucks at the 300 level, and then I'll be in 200 shares, because I'm pretty confident we don't sink below 300 and go back into this range. Or if we do, I'll still have the money, so I'll just buy 1 or 2 contracts and I'll be in 200 or 300 shares. So it's really a win-win-win, all because I'm hedging against these moves now, and I'm not all in at one particular point, knowing that I don't know what's going to happen next. So that's me trying to play it smart and set myself up to win no matter what, but it'll just be varying degrees of winning. So that's my play. And really, for anyone who is bullish on this whole thing, bullish on Tesla or other stocks that are potentially moving due to what's to come and what we're pretty confident is to come, I would just consider looking at the big picture and trading for the long haul. So if you're going to do calls, which I'm not the first to recommend because options can be risky, look for a date that's far out, ideally even later into 2025, towards the end or going into 2026, and I would probably buy a long call at a reasonable value then, even if it's a bit expensive. And then if short term we do sell off more than you were anticipating, have money left, buy the dip, and you really can't lose. So that's my play, that's my thought process on Tesla here and whatnot. Now, to be perfectly honest, I was a little bit surprised that Tesla and crypto kind of ran out of steam as fast as it did. I thought, as mentioned on stream yesterday, we would have a little bit more time, like maybe another week, 2 weeks, and then going into December, we'd start to see people taking profit, but instead, we ran out of steam today. Now that might just accelerate things, and the dip might not last as long as it was going to, but we don't really know. What I will do though is just briefly take a look at the charts. Again, if you guys have questions, please feel free to ask. And we'll get to the bottom of what's to come. So on the Tesla side, we'll just zoom out really quick. Let's go to the monthly. And this is what I said yesterday, but some of you guys weren't here. You have to look at this realistically. Some people might look at this move here, right, as a potential head and shoulders. Or they'll look at this here as like here, potential head and shoulders type move, whatever, and think that this could be a bearish reversal. But then you have to take a look at this. Whenever you see what you think is a head and shoulders pattern forming, but then there's a move after that breaks above what the shoulders were, that's usually a sign that whatever negative thing that you saw there is no longer relevant. So then moving in a little bit, we look at this and you can see, and I'll just do some TA very quickly. You can see that this actually looks to be a bit of a double bottom with the W pattern here. And now we're in a bit of an uptrend. So if anything, this is looking bullish. So that's one thing. Thing number two is you have to remember, we have already hit about $415 on Tesla in the past without the information that we have now. And so this is without a full, because this was 2021. So keep in mind, we did not have as good of an understanding as we do now of what the outcome or the future was going to be for autonomy. We had some hope, but we didn't know that come 2026 or 2027, we were going to have a vehicle being released that's fully reliant on autonomous driving, that has to have full self-drive to where, you know, there's no kind of intervention whatsoever because it has no steering wheel, no pedals. We didn't know that, you know, Elon was going to be having close conversations with government officials, because even at the time and in the past, you can tell that there was maybe even some dislike of Tesla as a company or of Elon himself. So things have changed significantly for the better as far as the outlook for this stock is concerned. Now we also know, with the advancement of AI and with the advancement of Tesla's robots, that that's a whole nother industry that they're getting into, a whole nother market that they could potentially lead. And there's a lot of people saying, including Elon himself, but a lot of other people saying too, that they believe Tesla can become the most profitable company in the world. And if you were to look at market caps, this is just something that I found to be a bit interesting. If you look at the market cap of companies right now, and you look at where Tesla is today, with this big move that they just had, they were actually just a few weeks ago, they were at like 6.6 billion, I believe. Now they're worth 1 trillion. If you are to say that Tesla can become the most valuable company in the world, let's just say it were to happen today, not years later, because then all these prices probably go up due to inflation. But as of right now, the market cap of the most profitable company in the world, the two right now are at like the mid 3 trillions. So we have Nvidia and Apple. With Tesla being 1 trillion, these being mid threes, that means that Tesla would need to 3 to 4x to become the most valuable company in the world. And that just very simply means that the stock price would have to 3 to 4x if there were no offerings done. So if we're at 330 now, that means basically people are thinking it's very, very, very possible that in the next couple years or so, that a share of Tesla could be $1,000 plus per. So when you look at it that way, and you really look at what all Tesla's getting into and the fact that it really is possible because they're diversified against a whole lot of sectors, and they're about to be the first really to have AI driven full self-drive autonomy on a widespread scale, not just like Waymo in certain specific areas and limited, but then also the whole robotics side of things. And then you have to think too, like I mentioned yesterday, there's the potential of this being a licensing play for Tesla eventually as well, because what I see is that you could reach out to other manufacturers that are looking to for this, that don't have the advantage that Tesla has with the technology, and you can sell them the hardware 4 or hardware 5 setup. They can do some testing to make sure it's calibrated for their vehicle's dimensions and everything, and then they get access to the autonomous AI, and there you go, the car, and obviously hook the systems up, but now you have a vehicle that can drive itself. And how much can Tesla charge for that? A couple thousand per vehicle possibly. And then if you're giving that to someone like Toyota, volume dealers, Honda, that can really start to add up. So there's just a lot of potential plays that aren't necessarily being spoken about, but when you really think about it, it's very, very likely that Tesla's valuation at this moment is low, all things considered. They're no longer just a car dealer or an EV manufacturer. They are an industry-leading company on multiple different fronts. So that's why I'm bullish long-term on Tesla, and that's why I feel confident with me going for long calls, because it's not just me saying, oh, buy a dip, this is exciting, oh, it's Elon. There's fundamentals behind it, and that's what's most important. So that's that. Now, as we look at the price action right now, this is very, very, very interesting. We could see a bit of a potential fake out here, and this is an interesting pattern, guys, because let me just draw this. Again, feel free to ask questions, guys. It really does help. Potential fake out here. The resistance line, okay, or the support line, I'm sorry, right about here. This is where we bounced off of. We came back, we went under it, then we regained support, and now we're in a triangle here. We're actually in a triangle here. Nothing's been decided. Because even though we broke under the 330 support and we went to like the 337 level, which I do believe there was a little bit over here. Yeah, there's some minor support and resistance here. This was not a strong trend line. We did not panic sell off. I think there's still some potential for momentum here, just based off the fact that we're holding like this at a weak support level, despite all of this activity. There is, now with triangles that are equal like this, it's like a 50-50 shot, but when you just keep it, you have to really think of outside factors that aren't so obvious, like what is people's mindset right now to help determine what's the most probable outcome. And even that's not clear because there's probably a lot of profit taking and everything, but you can see here from this volume candle, that was a big buy that hit right here. There's something going on. Maybe it's market makers or hedge funds, whatever, trying to prop the market up and keep this from selling off further. I don't know. This would be a really good fake out. Go under support, flush people out that are, or get people to commit to short trades with a stop loss, wash people out maybe here with the big sell, and then, everybody's bearish already, buy the dip here, take off again. I don't know. But that's because it's sometimes really impossible to tell. Technicals and the fundamentals conflict. That's why I just said, I bought a call here. I don't care if Tesla stock goes up or down at this point, because either way, if it goes up, I'm going to profit. If it goes down, I'm going to buy another contract and then profit again once it's on the way back up from there. So that's the play there. that's pretty much all I've got for Tesla right now, unless you guys have questions. I'm going to quickly move over to Archer. You guys probably don't care about this one too much, so I'm not going to stay on it too long. Archer is a eVTOL, so electric vertical takeoff and landing stock play. The reason why this is really important, there's not a whole lot of these companies that exist right now that are based in the US. Archer is one of the few that plans to focus specifically on launching these kind of vehicles in the US. If you do not know what a eVTOL vehicle is, it basically looks like a drone. Now I'm sure most of you have seen drones. It's a mix of like a helicopter and a drone. And the purpose of these vehicles in these companies is they're supposed to provide basically like Uber rides, but in these drone helicopters from point A to point B. And it's supposed to be pretty much as simple as if, you needed to request an Uber. And it's basically the potential future of transportation, especially in highly congested areas like California. Now we know that Elon Musk kind of got involved with the Boring Company trying to figure out a way to solve for extremely congested traffic, and that's why he was building the underground tunnels. The problem, though, is for whatever reason, maybe it's just due to importance, because we know how he does sometimes with things like that. Tesla Roadster, for example. If it's not top priority, it gets pushed to the side, put on the back burner, / scrapped. You just find out when you find out. But the Boring Company has not made any more progress as far as creating those tunnels and building out that infrastructure is concerned. So that effort's pretty much dead at this moment. And this effort is very much real. This would be the alternative. Instead of trying to create alternative methods of transportation underground, you're opening up new methods for short distance transportation above ground. So it's not hopping in a taxi or an Uber, nor is it jumping on an airplane. You're jumping in one of these quadricopters and taking a 10, 20, 25 mile or less trip from point A to point B, flying over traffic. So instead of it taking you 2 hours to drive 5 miles, maybe it'll just take you 5 minutes, like it should, 10 minutes. So I really believe, as do a lot of others, that this is one of the next really, really big plays. And so with that in mind, it's important to look at the companies that are in this industry and try and figure out, well, which ones are set up to succeed. The thing about Archer Aviation is they have a partnership already with multiple companies, one of which is Southwest Airlines. They've already committed to basically a partnership with them. And I believe what's going to happen, if I remember correctly, is Archer Aviation is going to provide the aircraft, and then Southwest Airlines is going to have some sort of division that's not probably named Southwest Airlines, but they're going to basically establish the ride-hailing service for these vehicles. So that's very exciting. There are others in this space. It is not just Archer. All right. There's another one called Joby Aviation. This one's also very... Now, before I move on, I will say too, Archer Aviation, on top of that, they are getting significant amounts of money for investment from outside companies. They've gotten $500 million already. I know Kathy Woods had heavily invested in Archer as well, and that's when the stock first popped not too long ago. It went like towards 5, and then it dipped to 3, and now it's back to 450 or something. So that's that. Now, Joby is basically Archer's competitor, but the thing about Joby is they're not strictly focused on the US. This is more of a global play. I find that to be a positive and a negative. However, the nice thing about Joby Aviation is they are actually working on an app so that, very similar to Uber, you can just go on your phone and schedule your ride and it just be that seamless. Another positive thing about them is they've gotten, I believe, $500 million from Toyota. Toyota is backing them, and Toyota's already committed to investing another $500 million if necessary, as well as other companies. So right now in this space, there's really just 2 people that catch my eye. It's Archer Aviation and it's Joby, and honestly, I would invest in both. So those are my plays. And that's also why you've probably seen I have Tesla calls and then I have Archer calls. My Archer calls are very light. Let's see if I can make this a little more visible. Archer calls are very light. I have just a few contracts. Does it tell me? Okay. Yeah, I have about 40 contracts total of Archer. This call right here is a little risky. It expires January 25th, and it's a 450 call. I think that will print. But this one here, I just placed, I think this is the one I placed today. It's a 550 call for December 13th, a month from now. That's a bit of a gamble, but the options were really cheap. And this was just basically me saying, if over the next week, because with these short-term calls, you have to consider the theta decay, the time decay, and pretty much anytime you have a short-term call, the theta decay gets higher, which means that every single day that passes, you're gonna lose automatically. Just because a day passed, you lose a certain amount of premium. So you're losing money every day that you hold the contract. So this is really for me a short-term play. I was able to buy a lot of contracts for very little money and just say, if Archer Aviation over the next few days, since I'm so light on my position, if it does bounce to like $5 or something, which is just a 10% or so move, or even, makes 15-20%, I will have a good amount of exposure with essentially what's at this point 4,000. Is that 4,000 math? Yeah, about 4,000 or more dollars worth of shares for nowhere near $4,000 worth of money. So I can keep my capital to buy dips that I think are going to be a little more important right now. I will close this segment out by saying, as far as price targets are concerned for Tesla, again, I'm hearing people are really confident Tesla's going to go to 1,000. Not this year, probably not next year, but I'm talking, as we get closer to 2030. So all of this is just investing for the future and capitalizing off the big swings until then. But this is like a long-term money-making, keep adding money to it play if you want to be wealthy, very, very wealthy in the next couple years. Archer Aviation is significantly undervalued, significantly. And that's part of the reason why there was such a strong bounce on this recently. And I'll just show you what I mean. Here's what ended up happening. First of all, Archer Aviation has been $18.60 before. So please keep that in mind. We're at $4 right now, and Archer Aviation has already been more than 4 times the current price. Okay, so that's what that upside potential is. Very, 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 very significant. But this move here is very interesting because Archer had some pretty good news right around this period of time. And there was some big moves in the price here, and this is where I initially started to invest in them. There were some big moves in the price here. We went from $3 up to $5.40, and then institutional investors shorted the mess out of this stock for whatever reason, and it worked. And they drove the price, despite Archer getting investments, securing deals. Almost every day there was new positive media out in the news. They successfully got people to sell, sold it all the way down to $285. And this was only September 26th. It was at $285, and they held the price down there. And then all of a sudden, for no reason, right around election time when the market started to recover, everybody bought. And we just went from, on the 7th, $3 back up to $4.60 right now. So keeping in mind that this sell-off was complete manipulation, Archer Aviation was significantly undervalued, but it still is. We've already been here. We've been here comfortably, and like I said, we've been way higher before multiple times. So finally, this stock is only $4.80 right now. Oh, I guess turn my light on so y'all can actually see me. This stock is only $4 and about 60 cents right now. Price targets from pretty much everyone I'm seeing, and I'll just, okay, Charlotte Hornets. All right, that was my fault. we can just look at this together because I've already seen this. Look at the range of current stock price targets for Archer Aviation. So on the absolute low end, we're seeing 450, which is where we are right now. So if you are the most bearish of the bears, your worst case scenario is now. There really is no downside as far as valuations are concerned. The average stock price target for Archer is $9. So that's what most people are saying. And I saw this in an article. There is actually someone that released, I believe, yesterday, their price target for Archer, and they're saying $12.50. It's $4 right now. So that just tells you that $2 and $3 short thing, the manipulation, that was a dip buy opportunity, and it's still fair value. So what I'm doing is loading up, because, and I would encourage you, and I can talk about this in a later stream, but do your own research on Archer and Joby and just that eVTOL industry, and I'll just type it in the chat for anyone that forgets that term. I would do some research on that, because not only are these not the only two competitors in the space, there's a couple more. These are just my two favorite, but Archer in particular has some really solid plans. They've already began testing one of their, I'll just call them planes or quadricopters. They've already began testing them and had successful flight tests, and they're planning on delivering the first of those very soon. They have a rollout planned. What you can even do is go to their website, and if you go to, I believe it's the news page here, you can do the same thing with Joby, and you go to events and presentations. You can scroll through some of these and download some of these shareholder letters, which tell you basically what they shared with their shareholders and what is about to happen next with them. And this is where, I do my research and I find out whether or not these companies are actually worth investing in, and this helps me build my case, because obviously there's going to be a lot of people out there that they just watch some videos or they look at a stock and they're like, ooh, it's going up, I'm going to buy. But if you can actually do just 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes or whatever of research, sometimes you can find out that there's actually a gem here that nobody actually has seen yet. And you buy in early, nobody understands why you're buying, but that's, when you're one of the first ones in, and then you get the 5, 10x. Now, here's something very interesting, and I'll zoom in here so y'all can see. This was from their Q4, so not very long ago, earnings call. I'm sorry, Q3, it is Q4 now. Earlier this week, we announced we are now seeking shareholder approval of up to $400 million of additional capital from Stellantis, that's the company that owns Dodge, to help scale the manufacturing of our aircraft. So they have a potential additional $400 million coming in from Stellantis. And this company is not worth very much money as it stands right now, which is why it's also a really, really strong investment opportunity. Their market cap's only $2 billion. So they're getting investments up to a quarter of their entire valuation, and they're not done. So you can imagine what adding another, this going from 2 to 2.4 billion, that's going to make the stock price go up, unless they're selling shares, or I'm sorry, diluting shares. Anyway, Japan Airlines intended purchase of $500 million worth of aircraft. Go ahead and take a look at this. It's very interesting. There's reasons behind why I'm saying these are potential buys, and that's why I feel so confident with my calls, because I will tell you now, options are risky. I don't normally advise that you touch them, but if you're just buying calls to get more shares and you're fully confident in what you're doing, it's not so bad a play. All right, before we wrap up, you guys have any questions? We'll close it out with a look at crypto. Oh boy. So we see here, we can see here that Bitcoin, as of yesterday, it did hit and this was about midnight. It did hit 90,000. Little bit of a normal concern here is, you know, we sold off, and we hit again. That's a bit of a double top. Usually a double top is a bearish sign, and that can be a take profit sell signal, because if you go there a second time and you don't break through, or even a third time you don't break through, that just shows you don't quite have enough buying pressure to make the move. And that might be what's about to happen here. It would be following the rest of the market. A lot of stocks lost momentum. But I do think that Bitcoin is going to be, in general, a little more bullish with its trading patterns compared to the stock market, because we had direct word from Trump himself that he wanted the United States to be like the capital of crypto and Bitcoin. That came right from his mouth. So it's not any implications like with Tesla, or any, you know, implications like maybe even with Dogecoin, how we're like, well, maybe, you know, Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, maybe that means something. He specifically said he wants Bitcoin to be a big thing. And so I do think, if anything, that whenever these patterns start forming where there's indecision, overall long-term trend, that's going to result in us potentially moving up. But if you look at this from a slightly different perspective, and you just change your perspective a bit, this kind of begins to look more like a bull flag more than anything else, right? Because you have the pole here, and then you have the bullish flag pattern, which typically indicates that there's going to be a break above that resistance line there. And so what we would need to see is us come out of this like flag pattern here, find support probably at like 89K, and trade upwards. If not, this pattern gets destroyed. So bullish leanings. You'll just have to carefully watch and see what happens. And also don't forget, whenever Bitcoin makes a serious move, the altcoins tend to follow behind slowly. So, you know, if Bitcoin makes a big move towards 100K, Dogecoin will probably trickle up kind of slowly and lag behind. But then once there's some stability behind these moves, then the crypto like Doge and some of the others will follow. So that's what we got for now. Doge is, James Johnson says, Doge is treating me well. Good. Very good. Unfortunately, Doge was treating me well. I had a couple mishaps here and there with some other stocks. So I'm currently proudly supporting everybody with Dogecoin. When I was going to buy back in, it was going to be a little too late. And, you know, if I am trading smartly and trading as I always teach to trade, if it's not a smart buy, you shouldn't do it. If there's a heavy risk involved, if you're not near a support and you're not feeling confident, if it's a gamble, you shouldn't do it if you're trying to, you know, develop wealth from trading opportunities. So instead, I bought into what was at support, which was Tesla and some other assets that I could use margin and leverage and get my account up to where I wanted it without kind of buying into the middle of the move. So if there is some kind of pullback to here, I will probably rejoin the Doge and Bitcoin position. But for now, I am happily watching and reporting on it and working on getting this account to, honestly, my goal is 1 million. So I think it's very, very easily doable. Just have to be consistent. We've already, and I know we've had the bullish market in our favor, but over the course of the month, we've already went from, like I said, 3 to 11. We had a bit of a pullback today just because of something silly, but consistency is key. And hopefully you guys find these videos and information useful. And again, if you just trade patiently and really think things through and do a little research and make sure that you understand why before you pull the trigger on something, you can very easily be in the right place at the right time and capitalize on moves that you will never see just, you know, going into the S&P or holding an ETF or something like that 4, 5, 10% a year. It could be 100% every couple weeks. So just depends on how you play it. Minimize your risk, trade smart. That's the motto. Again, guys, please, if you don't already, support me on X. I am trying to get up to 500 followers on there so that I can become an established creator according to their terms and conditions, which will allow me to do a lot more. And they also have a program in place that, like, if you get your tweets basically engaged with, they basically allow you to be compensated for that through their program. So I could be putting out free trade alerts and stock alerts, watch lists and all that, posting it. You guys get it for free, and then I get paid from X, right? And everybody benefits from that. So if you could please help out with that initiative so I could do this more often, would appreciate it. Again, it should be pinned there still in the chat and in the description, but you can find me on X at 2020 Tech Reviews. I will also say that my channel name and handle is probably going to change soon. 2020 had multiple meanings in the past. When I first made my YouTube channel, it was well before 2020. 2020 was actually a future date. And the reason I chose that name was for a couple reasons. One being, ever since I was younger, 2020 was like a year where there was, because it was so far in the future, if you would see like 2020 concept cars or stuff like that, that's always the year they'd pick, and they would have these really crazy mock-ups and everything, and it was just like this year everybody looked to. It was a year that sounded cool, one that people would kind of use as, well, this is the future. Another reason I used it is because 2020 as in insight or vision, just basically, you know, having a clear view into technology and the future of what's to come and being able to analyze stuff really well. So it's like a 2020 vision play, and my old logo, you can kind of see it up here, is actually like it's an eye with a phone in the middle. It says 2020 around the retina. But 2020 is now a thing of the past. It's been almost 5 years now since that year has gone by. 2020 ended up not being the best year as well, so that was kind of unfortunate the way that played out, but it's just the name's outdated. It means something to me, but I want something that means more. So probably over the next week or two, you'll see me rebrand a bit, have a new channel name, but I will most likely just be going by my name for the most part, which is Mariano. So I know it's hard to pronounce, but we've got 2 weeks to practice if you ever need to say it. Anyway, appreciate the support. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't. More importantly, follow me on X. Really would appreciate it. And feel free, of course, tweet at me, leave comments, whatever. Let me know what you want to see in the next video, live stream, or what you want me to post about next. I'm very much so planning to be regular and more active again now that markets are moving. This is what I took my break to wait for, and we are now here. So we are back, officially back. Appreciate the support.